There was a time when Ryan O'Neal appeared to have everything a man could want. He was accompanied by Farrah Fawcett, who was dubbed the world's most beautiful lady by every magazine, and he was the golden boy of Hollywood following Love Story. Fans viewed them as the ultimate power couple, living a glamorous and romantic life, and as untouchable. However, their love was tumultuous behind the cameras, replete with reconciliations, breakups, and unsaid regrets. Ryan remained silent about the most sinister aspect of their connection for decades. At the age of 82, he finally shared it, shocking everyone who had assumed they already knew their story. A heartbreaking confession that altered how the public saw them both replaced the picture of perfection. In the early 1970s, Ryan O'Neal was more than just another attractive Hollywood star when the public first saw him. His breakthrough performance in Love Story made him a household name, and the movie itself became a cultural icon. Suddenly, Ryan was the actor that every studio wanted to cast, posters hung in dorms, and people quoted its lines. He was portrayed as the idealized main man, embodying the passion and heartache of youth. On the opposite side of the spotlight, Farrah Fawcett was starting to soar to fame. She became a household name almost immediately with her sun-kissed hair, dazzling grin, and an enthusiasm that seemed to light up every room. One of the most famous women in the world, she sold millions of copies of her famous red swimsuit billboard. Ryan and Farrah were quickly labeled Hollywood royalty by the media when their paths crossed. To the general public, they appeared to be a wonderful fit. The endearing film star and TV personality whose careers represented a golden age of entertainment. They were photographed at high-profile parties, vacations, and premieres for tabloids and magazines. Their relationship appeared to be the kind of dream that most people only have in their minds. Dazzling, thrilling, and full of potential. Fans saw Ryan and Farrah as a symbol of the possibility of pure love despite the glaring spotlight of celebrity. Under the glistening exterior, however, things were far more complicated. Even though they were inextricably linked, people who knew them well started to sense friction. Farrah's quick rise to fame made her a worldwide celebrity, and Ryan's career struggled to remain relevant in a changing business. Their relationship quickly devolved into a conflict between ambition, insecurity, and the enormous demands of notoriety since both of them were under a great deal of strain. Their supposedly flawless romance was already beginning to show signs of cracking, even though the world only saw their magazine cover perfect smiles. The 1970s were a pivotal decade in Ryan and Farrah's relationship. They captivated people's imaginations as the ultimate couple, but they were also two powerful people with rather distinct demands. What appeared to be fate turned out to be the start of an intense, chaotic, and heartbreaking love tale. Fans believed they were seeing the ascent of Hollywood's golden pair, but the reality was much more nuanced. What followed would demonstrate the true turbulence of this relationship. It appeared as though Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett's romance was a Hollywood fairy tale. Behind closed doors, however, a very different story was being told by those closest to them. Their nearly 3-decade-long partnership was anything but harmonious. It was characterized by fervor and intensity as well as unpredictable disputes. According to friends, the couple would be inseparable one minute and at odds the next, frequently splitting up just to get back together as if nothing had happened. Ryan himself contributed to some of the instability. He later acknowledged that control and jealousy were issues for him. Not only was Farrah admired, she was loved everywhere. Bedroom walls bore her image. Weekly and television households and glossy magazines. It was both a source of pride and nervousness for Ryan to see how the world was fascinated by the lady he loved. Their home life was frequently upended by mistrust, and whether or not the rumors of infidelity were accurate, they simply served to feed the flames. Instead, Farrah was focused on making a career out of more than just being the face of a poster. Her goal as an actress was to be treated seriously, and frequently challenged the boundaries Hollywood attempted to set for her. That motivation occasionally conflicted with Ryan's own professional difficulties. After his early smash hit, he was going through a lot of ups and downs, while she was taking risks. Rather than rejoicing in each other's successes, their partnership devolved into a struggle between bitterness and ambition. Their love life was portrayed by tabloids, who were always looking for drama, as the ultimate soap opera. They were seen at a glitzy function together one week. The following week, there was a split in the headlines. The whirlwind was too fast for the fans. They were unaware, however, that their relationship had become defined by this pattern of separation and reconciliation. It was chaotic, draining, and captivating. Despite their best efforts, Ryan and Farrah were unable to leave for very long. They would enter a new age marked by instability that would take them far beyond the glitz of the 1970s. Where nobody could have foreseen the ways in which their relationship and careers would be put to the test. And another alteration would alter their story just when it appeared that they could have at last achieved peace. Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett were formerly encircled by a golden light that had started to fade by the early 1990s. Both they and Hollywood had changed. One of the most bankable leading men in the past, Ryan struggled to get roles that matched the potential of his early career. Audiences have changed, and Ryan frequently acknowledged that he was unsure of how to remake himself for a new wave of movies. At the same time, Farrah was on a different course. She had dispelled the notion that she was only a TV personality and poster girl, demonstrating her versatility and commitment to taking on significant dramatic parts. She started to gain the admiration of critics for her roles in stage plays and television films, even if it meant abandoning the glitzy persona that had initially brought her fame. Their disparity in motion caused their distance from one another to widen. Ryan struggled with personal issues and career disappointments, while Farrah sought artistic fulfillment, depth, and significance. According to the couple's friends, their lives appeared to be going in different paths. While Farrah was changing, Ryan was holding on to the past. This disparity frequently made their partnership a battleground of unfulfilled expectations. By the late 1990s, the couple had formally split up. Their story appeared to have come to a conclusion after almost 20 years of turmoil. Even after they parted ways, Ryan was unable to let go of their shared memories. Years later, he acknowledged that Farrah didn't deserve him as a spouse. He acknowledged that his immaturity, arrogance, and selfishness contributed to his rejection of her. When he still had the opportunity, he failed to value her, and he was brutally honest about it in interviews. "I was in love with her," he remarked, "and I allowed her to leave." Although everyone believed their romance was over, their relationship was not so easily broken. Nobody at the moment understood that fate had another chapter in store for Ryan and Farrah, one that would reunite them under far more tragic circumstances than anyone could have predicted. The story of Farrah Fawcett and Ryan O'Neal took an unexpected turn in 2006. A dreadful prognosis was given to Farrah, a woman whose face had formerly represented beauty, health, and vitality. The news that she was fighting cancer shocked people all across the world. Admirers who had loved her since her Charlie's Angels days watched in shock as she endured the most difficult battle of her life. Ryan's abrupt return to her side after years of separation, disagreements, and regret only served to heighten the story's suspense. Love, loyalty, and necessity drove their reunion rather than Hollywood glitz. Ryan assumed the position of caregiver after being accused of being overly self-centered. In an often violent and public battle, he sought to console Farrah, accompanied her to treatments, and protected her from intrusive reporters when he could. For him, it went beyond simply providing her with physical support. His affection for her had never really diminished, and it was an opportunity to mend what had been damaged. In an effort to keep control of her own story, Farrah made the decision to tell the world about her struggle. Her documentary Farrah's Story, which was released in 2009, provided an unapologetic look at her bravery, hardships, and treatments. Millions watched the show, and many were taken aback by her candor. Before, she was just regarded as a glamorous starlet, but now she showed herself to be a warrior with a genuine human weakness. And all the while, Ryan was there, his presence indisputable, his dedication obvious. It was a devastating and redemptive chapter for those who had followed their tumultuous romance for decades. Life seems to have compelled them to put aside the drama and confront what was really important. Those were some of the most impactful years of Ryan's life, he subsequently acknowledged. They were not about wealth or celebrity. Love was the subject of them. Distilled to its essence. Despite how strong their reunion was, the chapter's finale would leave Ryan devastated in ways he would never fully recover from and pave the path for his confession years later. At the age of 62, Farrah Fawcett passed away on June 25, 2009. Her death followed a protracted and widely reported battle that revealed her extraordinary fortitude and fragility. But Ryan O'Neal felt more than just the passing of a beloved figure. He had never experienced such a personal heartbreak. Eventually, after years of upheaval, reconciliations, and separation, he had returned to her side, only to lose her forever. Ryan's anguish was evident on the day Farrah died away. Calling her the love of his life, he was open about the gap she left behind and acknowledged that no one could ever replace her. In one interview, he spoke tearfully of their last minutes together, stating that they had reconciled with their history and had reconnected before the end. The conclusion left him feeling both thankful for their time together and overwhelmed by the sorrow of what had been lost. The love story had always seemed to the general audience as a flurry of drama and emotion. But over those last several weeks, Ryan's loyalty was indisputable. Neither the irritated actor of the 1990s nor the Hollywood playboy of the 1970s remained him. He was a naked guy in mourning for the woman he had loved all his life. Farrah's burial, which was attended by close friends and relatives, served as a testament to how profoundly she had impacted everyone in her vicinity. However, Ryan's admissions in the years that followed, rather than just his pain, were what startled viewers the most. He admitted that the opportunity to propose to Farrah in her last days had passed him by. He claimed that despite carrying the ring and being prepared for the proposal, events prevented it from happening. It was a heartbreaking admission for a man who had based his entire life on charm and bluster that he had been waiting too long to offer her what she had always deserved. But that was not the end of Ryan's story. As time went on, he disclosed increasingly more about his shortcomings, regrets, and the agonizing reality that plagued him well into his 80s. As the years went by, Ryan O'Neal seldom ever discussed his personal life in public. He spoke with the weight of a man troubled by his loss when he did. He no longer attempted to conceal himself under Hollywood bluster by the time he was in his 90s. As fans had long thought, he started to acknowledge that his biggest regret was not getting married to Farrah Fawcett when he had the opportunity. When he admitted in interviews that he had been too pompous, immature, and self-centered to offer her the commitment she desired, his voice broke. Ryan acknowledged his long-held belief that Farrah would be present. Their habit of splitting up and getting back together had given the impression that they would always be together, even if things became really terrible. That illusion was destroyed, however, as illness struck and time ran out. His intended proposal never materialized, and the ring he was carrying remained a mute reminder of a love that ended in tragedy. He said, "I will live with the regret that I lost the love of my life. Till the day I die." Fans were devastated by the admission. For decades, they had been following the couple's tumultuous romance in the news. They had exulted throughout their reunions and let out a sigh during their splits. However, the whole narrative was reframed when Ryan at last admitted the extent of his remorse. The story was no longer solely about drama and passion. It was the tale of a man who understood too late that pride had cost him everything, and of mistakes that were irreparable. People were moved by its candor because it showed a very human side. Under the glitz and celebrity, Ryan was simply another individual who had failed to find love. His admission revealed a vulnerability that Hollywood celebrities frequently conceal. In the process, it pushed fans closer to the truth than they had ever been. But Farrah wasn't the only one he regretted. When Ryan talked about his past, he was also asked about his fathering role and the difficulties in his family. One aspect of Ryan O'Neal's narrative, which was characterized by broken relationships and heartbreaking regrets, was his anguish over Farrah Fawcett. His job as a father had always been complex, and he freely acknowledged his shortcomings with his children in his later years. He had a very tense relationship with his daughter from his first marriage, Tatum O'Neal. Their relationship quickly collapsed due to the demands of celebrity, personal hardships, and acrimonious arguments, despite the fact that they had been together when she won an Academy Award as a child. Both of them acknowledged in interviews that their relationship had been largely characterized by painful words and protracted silences for decades. His son, Redmond O'Neal, whom he shared with Farrah, came next. Redmond has a turbulent life filled with court issues and high-profile bouts with addiction. Deep concern for his future had been voiced by Farrah herself, particularly while she was unwell. Subsequently, Ryan said that he felt he had let Redmond down by failing to give him the support and direction a parent should. The turmoil that had surrounded his own life and decisions was constantly brought to mind by his son's hardships. Ryan felt the weight of these family rifts. Reflections on his children were frequently woven with his confessions regarding Farrah. He realized that in addition to costing him the woman he loved, his immaturity and impetuous behavior had also harmed his ability to be a parent. In an open moment, he acknowledged that I was not the spouse Farrah deserved and that I was not the father I should have been. It was an uncommon admission of responsibility, the sort that peeled back the Hollywood facade to expose a guy who believed his legacy was seriously flawed. Fans found these revelations to be both terrible and enlightening. They demonstrated that Ryan's regrets permeated every aspect of his life, not just the romantic. But despite all of this suffering, his story's core remained his commitment to Farrah. Even when thinking about his kids, he kept coming back to her, as though everything, his shortcomings, his regrets, his desires, was connected to the love he had lost. There was one indisputable fact, though, even in his most sinister thoughts. Despite the controversies and regrets, Ryan and Farrah's love story would continue to be remembered for its lasting impact. Despite the heartache, regrets, and turmoil, the public's recollection of Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett's romance is one of the most memorable in Hollywood history. Instead of being a story of flawless harmony, it was one of intense passion that withstood decades of splits, reconciliations, and even the threat of disease. Not because their tale was perfect, but rather because it was authentic, messy, complex, and incredibly human. Fans keep coming back to it. The legacy of Farrah is still unparalleled. She will be remembered as a strong lady who bravely confronted her disease, not only as the blonde beauty who adorned advertisements and TV screens. Her tenacity was documented in her documentary, Farrah's Story, which also permanently altered the way the world perceived her. She proved to be a woman of remarkable depth behind the glitzy exterior, becoming to many a symbol of both bravery and vulnerability. Even while Ryan's legacy is much more nuanced, it will always be connected to her. In his later years, he talked candidly about remorse and lost love, demonstrating how deeply Farrah had shaped his life. The Hollywood playboy persona was torn away by his comments, revealing a guy who, in spite of his wealth and celebrity, based his entire life on a single love. Instead of seeing a movie star, fans saw a man who had experienced love, sorrow, and grief. Because their romance eluded simple explanation, it is still enshrined in Hollywood history. Success and attractiveness weren't the only factors. It dealt with the unadulterated, erratic power of two individuals who, despite all the odds against them, were unable to let go of one another. It told the story of love that persevered through upheaval and ultimately turned into a tale of salvation. Ryan O'Neal made one thing very plain in his last years, despite all of his mistakes. Fawcett Farrah was his true love. Her absence created a hole that nothing could ever fill. We are reminded by their story that certain friendships are unbreakable despite their flaws. Ryan carried the truth, which cemented their status as one of the most enduring and tragic love tales in Hollywood history, even though he also carried sorrow. There was more to Ryan O'Neal's 82-year-old revelation than just a personal one. It was the last chapter in a love tale complete with passion, blunders, reconciliation, and sorrow that the world had witnessed for more than 30 years. Ryan's late-life candor brought to light the depth of his love and the hurt of lost opportunities, while Farrah Fawcett continues to be a symbol of beauty and bravery. Despite their imperfections, they collectively left a lasting legacy. Their tale compels us to pose a query. Do we take love for granted too often? Thinking there's always more time. The solution arrived too late for Ryan. For the rest of us, it's a reminder that some opportunities never present themselves. If you were moved by their story as much as we were, be sure to subscribe for more untold stories of the greatest legends in Hollywood. Remember to like this video and share it with those who are still reminded of Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett's enduring love.